Story 1. As someone who works in retail, I would have to say people. To avoid sounding too jaded, there are a lot of very nice people I meet in my line of work, but there are many I would rather not have to meet ever again. Story 2. I juggle 10 things at once. No one cares. My husband has one thing go wrong. It's an apocalypse. The sky is falling, and why am I not making it all better? Story 3. As someone who does a lot of public-facing customer care work, I never go a day without dealing with extreme entitlement. I have seen people belittle or harass staff because they feel they have the right to do so. They also forget the humanity behind people working and will often treat me better simply because I have a higher position. Conversely, I deal with patient and caring people, ones that bring light to my work and remain in my thoughts. I had someone apologize to me yesterday evening for something they could not help. It broke my heart knowing that I am more likely to hear apologies from people who did nothing wrong than from those who have. Story 4. Giant heavy breasts. Laugh if you want, but it's really annoying to have giant melons permanently attached to your chest. I'm short and thin, so I'm like all boob. If you direct message me about this, I will ignore you. Story 5. Commuting to the office takes up almost 3 hours of my day because I use public transit, and after being mostly remote for the last 4 years, this has definitely become my biggest annoyance. Story 6. To be honest, having too much free time is challenging. I entered early retirement not because I wanted to, but due to reasons beyond my control. Now, I just have too much free time and it's hard for me to get motivated to do something. I really have to focus on getting things done, so for me it's having too much free time and not having enough structure. I got used to having a lot of structure, and that's probably why I was so good at the job I did. Even though I didn't have many bosses looking over my shoulder, it was very structured in the sense that I had to be somewhere on time to make that delivery. Otherwise, they were going to be upset, and I did not want that to happen. I was a long-haul truck driver. I was used to working over 70 hours a week. Now, I have all the time in the world, and I don't know what to do with it. Additionally, I'm not wealthy now that I'm on Social Security disability insurance, and my monthly income is only a little compared to what I was used to making per week. So, it's hard to really go out and do the things I want on such a limited budget. Story 7. Working with people who make 50% more than me, stumble through the simplest tasks, and ask for my help. It's enough to make me update my resume and apply elsewhere. Story 8. The non-stop barrage of attempts to extract money from me. Regular junk mail, email, texts, phone calls, junk fees, upcharges, surcharges, and of course, everybody I come into contact with expects a tip. Story 9. We just hired a new girl at work, and I have to deal with her every day. She is at least a decade older than I am. I am in my early 40s, and she speaks almost entirely in baby talk. Story 10. The creaky floorboards in my apartment. The noise itself doesn't annoy me so much as the paranoia of annoying my downstairs neighbors anytime I do anything. Story 11. Cat situation. We live with the in-laws, but the mother lives in a separate house in the back. She has started feeding the stray cats outside, and now they vomit and defecate in the yard, attracting flies and creating a mess. Smells bad, and there are many of them. My mother-in-law thinks God sent her these cats needing help, and they keep coming. More appear every month. She is messy and rarely home, just tossing food out and leaving it as it is. I want to move, but my spouse doesn't want to pay rent, and we have arguments about it. Story 12. My nose clogs up every time I brush my teeth. So halfway through, I can't breathe while I'm brushing my teeth, and it makes me gag a lot. Brushing teeth already sucks in general. The feeling of your teeth and mouth being clean is worth it, but man, is it a huge pain. I even clear my nose beforehand, and it still clogs up every time I brush my teeth. Story 13. My dad's anger issues. He gets incredibly angry over the tiniest things. For example, a cucumber was rolling on the cutting board while he was cutting a different cucumber for about 20 seconds, and then he's over it. It annoys me. He's a grown man getting irate over things I wouldn't even consider an inconvenience. Story 14. Dad's Fox News and brainwashing. Demented mom's giant messes. Woman is skin and bones. Where does it come from? But end-stage dementia isn't hidden messes, so I have that going for me. Story 15. To second humanity in another post. I'm dealing with a young neighbor upstairs who seems to be assembling furniture every waking hour he's home, ever since he moved in 2 months ago. It lines up with the change in ownership of the building with only a week's notice, and the shift in residents that have been approved. Story 16. Goddamn methamphetamine users asking me if I have methamphetamine they can smoke or some other illicit substance like marijuana. I have marijuana, but I'm not sharing it with some methamphetamine user. That's a waste of marijuana. Story 17. My friend sees me almost every day, and he always greets me with, "Yo, what's up, broski?" in a horrible accent since we aren't from the United States. It's so insignificant, but it annoys me so much. Story 18. I'm an airline pilot. The number of people who randomly stop me in an airport in the middle of what I'm doing to ask me where the bathroom is, or baggage claim, or where gate C15 is, or how to find their flight number. Please look up and read the signs and monitors. I'm hurrying through this airport to go work my next flight. Story 19. Online right-wing trolls who don't know what the hell they're talking about but persist in their posting because they are paid for doing so. There are times when I have to deal with annoying ultra-leftists as well, but not quite as often. Story 20. Definitely commuting. If you live in a third-world country, you will realize how inefficient the transportation system is and why everyone wants to buy cars. Story 21. I live literally a 5-minute walk from a rapid transit stop, but the quickest my commute would be on the train, assuming every transfer is timed right, is 90 minutes. I work in a pretty dense area. Instead, I sit in traffic and put miles on my car. Story 22. Explaining something simple over and over to someone who just does not get it, like talking to a brick wall. No matter how clear I make it, they are determined to stay confused. It is like a never-ending loop of frustration. Story 23. The general apathy, low quality, and poverty of the South are evident. You enter a bar with dirty glasses that smell like urine and cleaner, staffed by inattentive, mouth-breathing bar staff. You put $1 in a pool table and 5 balls come out. You visit a Food Lion, where 2 employees are moving slowly with a line of 6 people. You go to a filthy restaurant, and there is no music playing. Story 24. Oblivious drivers. Every commute, someone pulls right out in front of me, and I have to hit my brakes and crawl behind them while traffic piles up behind me because this ding-dong is going 10 under the speed limit for no reason, with no chances to pass them. Story 25. I throw up multiple times a day and have been since 2021. None of my doctors can figure out why. I think it might be psychological and I need hypnosis or something. Story 26. Playing musical cars. I have a single wide driveway with 3 vehicles. The only way all 3 fit is if I park the largest, my work vehicle and daily driver, behind the other 2. I have to move 3 vehicles twice a day for the past few years. That and people. Story 27. Bodies are weird, so I have to take my thyroid medication at 5 a.m. So every day I get up at 5 a.m., take my pill, and go back to bed. It's annoying, but if I don't do it, my symptoms get bad. Story 28. Might sound trivial, but I just feel like a laundry maid, doing washing and trying to clean up every day. I'm in my 60s with my granddaughter, her fiancé, and their baby living here, and it just feels never-ending. I just feel worn out. Story 29. Almost daily, my coworker or associate, who is literally a basement dweller, a generous 220-pound, 21-year-old nerd, is extremely smart in video games and some kids' TV shows, but is an extraordinary idiot in actual outside logic, for example, finances, home repair, vehicle maintenance, taxes, and insurance. Story 30. Physical pain that prevents me from doing what I need or want to do. I have always been one who likes things organized and clean. It is annoying not being able to do many things. Story 31. The irritating insect in the pool. Every day it gets stuck, just to annoy me. What happens when I get it unstuck? It goes right back to getting stuck before I can even get back into the house. What happens when it obeys and doesn't get stuck? It still gets the last word. Flipping the tail above water, soaking me wherever I am. Just me. Won't shoot water anywhere but right onto me. Doesn't matter where I am. It follows me and soaks me. That nuisance. Story 32. People who think dressing goth is satanic or that wearing rainbow-colored or patterned clothes is gay. As someone who dresses in a gothic aesthetic or pride clothes because I'm bisexual daily, I've had multiple people approach me asking if I'm part of a cult, bringing up religion, calling me the notorious slur, etc. Story 33. I currently do not have a car, and do not get me wrong, I am very grateful to have my family and friends willing to drive me around. But I hate waiting to be picked up. Honestly, just waiting in general, but waiting on other people just annoys the hell out of me. Story 34. Tedious data entry for my mileage reimbursement from my job. I work door to door and get reimbursed for how many miles I drive to all my stops. It's a large amount of addresses and calculations, and it makes it worse that the computer deletes an address at least once or twice each time I submit an address. Such a pain. Story 35. Coworker who is poor at her marketing job, so I have to edit every poorly generated artificial intelligence mess she creates. She cannot spell, her graphics are laughable, and she makes the same mistakes repeatedly. She's bossy and has a robust ego, which does not help. Story 36. I'm surprised no one says working every single day for 8 hours. Like, let me just work hard for 4 hours and clock out. Why do I have to pretend to work the rest of the time? Story 37. I work with older people and one gentleman is just on all of our nerves all the time. It's independent living, but he needs to go live in assisted living. He won't go and we can't make him, but even though he fell, he said 5 times yesterday, he wouldn't even let his brother take him to the hospital to be checked out. Story 38. Small talk. Every day, we are forced to endure these pointless exchanges about the weather or someone's weekend plans, as if we are all so terrified of silence that we would rather fill it with meaningless noise. It is the social equivalent of running in place. Exhausting and gets you nowhere. Imagine how much energy we would save if we just embraced the beauty of silence or, better yet, had real conversations. Story 39. I have a mostly flat bike ride to work every day, but the last 200 meters is an insanely steep hill, which means I end up arriving at my workplace out of breath and sweaty. Story 40. When I sit on the toilet too long, staring at my phone, and I get up, my legs are numb and I fall face first into the wall. It's annoying, probably just a me problem though. Story 41. Telemarketers, mostly in India, call me several times a day offering additional Medicare coverage, burial insurance, or they want to buy one of my houses. Since I have 10 houses, they might call on every address several times a day. They won't take me off their call lists. No-call lists mean nothing in another country. Every time my phone rings and I hear a delay followed by a bloop sound for the auto-dialer transfer, I hang up. Story 42. A meme said it best. People are so judgmental. I can tell just by looking at them. It's as though people have no concept of how incorrect their judgments and attacks are. They just know who a person is with little to no evidence or reason. It's such a waste of potential tearing people down instead of building them up. We'd be living in a paradise by now if it weren't for such ego. Story 43. I work and live in 2 different cities, and I have to cross a bridge to get to work every morning. During off hours, the commute takes 15 minutes. At rush hour, over an hour. I have no choice but to get to work an hour early every single day because if I leave any later, I'm 20 minutes late. So every morning, I sit in my car in the parking lot and stare at my phone for an hour, usually needing to poop because of a bridge. I hate it here. Story 44. My daughter's diabetic care. It's relentless, 24 hours a day, and no day is ever the same. But what annoys me more is that one day it will be her plight to bear. I would gladly do it for the rest of my days if I could save her the trouble. Story 45. My insulin pump is constantly attached to me and has alerts to tell me when my blood sugar is low, going low, high, or going high. There are alerts to tell me I'm low on insulin with 2 alerts for that, and alerts to remind me to do a blood glucose test. Although I'm in better control of my diabetes now than I've ever been, it's still not the best control. I'm constantly hearing beeps all day, and the worst is when I'm driving and it goes off, because I can't get to my pump to turn the alerts off. They keep going off every 60 seconds, and if no button is pressed on my pump, the alerts keep getting louder and longer. It is so annoying, especially if I'm driving for 15 continuous minutes, which I do every day because I'm a delivery driver. Story 46. Eczema on my neck and behind my knees. You cannot see them usually because they are usually covered by my hair or when I wear trousers, but I am itchy pretty much all the time. Story 47. My one neighbor, who told me his name when we first met, a couple of weeks later was on a walk, and we passed each other. I asked for his name again, and he said he's not going to tell me. Now I see him daily, and we talk, but it's weird and annoying. Story 48. The whole process of having to go to the basement and get my supplies for the night. Having to log my weight, log my blood pressure, and my temperature. Then I have to set the machine up and enter all the information I logged on paper into the machine. Then I have to get the bags of solution set up and let the machine heat the fluids before I can connect. Then there's washing my hands 2 to 3 times during this whole process to prevent contamination and having to use hand sanitizer just as much. Then I get to connect to the machine and be tied to it for 9 hours, pretty much confining myself to my bedroom for the whole night, which wouldn't be so bad. But sleeping is difficult because of the tube going into my lower abdomen, making it almost impossible to get into a comfortable sleeping position. That, and the occasional intense pain I get when the machine switches into one of the 4 drain cycles it does throughout the night. I get to do this 6 nights a week. Yay!